Journey to the West in Vernacular Chapter 39. The Tathagata of Leiyin Temple gives the true scripture. After Wukong rescued the bandits, he continued on the road with his master. After walking for 6 or 7 days, he suddenly saw a tall building standing in front of him and a cloud pavilion soaring into the sky. Wukong said, "Master, the place for Buddhist scriptures has arrived. Master, please get off your horse." Upon hearing this, Tang Monk hurriedly dismounted. When we walked to the pavilion, a Taoist boy stood at the gate of the mountain and asked, "This person is a Buddhist from the east." Wukong recognized him as the golden-topped immortal of Leiyin Temple at the foot of Leiyin Mountain, and hurriedly told his master that after Tang Monk came forward to salute, the immortal led Tang Monk and his disciples into the temple, and asked the boy to burn fragrant soup for Tang Monk to bathe, saying that only in this way could he ascend to the Buddha's place. The next day, Tang Monk put on his brocade cassock, held a tin staff in his hand, and paid his respects to the immortal. The immortal led Tang Monk to the Dharma Gate. Tang Seng and his disciples walked 5 or 6 miles forward and saw a large river with rolling waves, about 8 or 9 miles wide. There were neither people nor boats. Tang Seng was shocked and worried. Wukong saw a bridge in the distance, so he pulled his master over. Unexpectedly, it was a single plank bridge. On the plaque beside the bridge were 3 words, Linjiandu. Tang Seng didn't dare to cross, so he had to find another way. When Wukong saw that his master and junior brother did not dare to cross, he jumped onto the single plank bridge, ran over unsteadily, and shouted, "Come here." But master and junior brother still did not dare to cross, so they ran over and pulled Bajie onto the bridge. Ji was so frightened that he lay on the ground and said, "It's too slippery, I can't get through." At this time, they suddenly saw a man coming over with a boat. When the boat reached the shore, Tang Seng and his disciples discovered that it was a bottomless boat. With his piercing eyes, Wukong recognized that the person punning the boat was Leiyin Buddha, but he did not say anything. Tang Monk was afraid and did not dare to get on the boat. He led the Buddha and said, "Although the boat has no bottom, it has been able to save all sentient beings throughout the ages." Tang Monk was still doubting, so Wukong pushed him onto the boat while he wasn't paying attention. Tang Monk lost his balance and fell into the water. Leiyin Buddha pulled him onto the boat. Tang Monk complained about Wukong while shaking his clothes. At this time, Wukong had already pulled Bajie, Sheseng and Baima onto the boat. With a gentle push from the Buddha, the boat sailed quickly to the other side. When the boat reached the middle of the river, a dead body suddenly floated down from the upper reaches. Tang Seng was shocked when he saw it. Wukong, Bajie and Sha Seng pointed at the corpse and said, "Master, don't be afraid, that's you." After a while, the boat passed Leiyin Ferry, and after master and apprentice landed, Wukong told Tang Seng that the man just picked up the body. To quote the Buddha, "The master has emerged from this mortal body." The 4 masters and disciples continued to move forward, and soon they boarded the stone road leading to Leiyin Mountain, and arrived at the gate of Leiyin Temple. When the 4 Vaira saw Tang Monk, they hurriedly bowed. One Vaira said, "Holy monk, please wait for a moment while I go in to report." After saying that, they reported to the second door, and then to the third door. The 3 divine monks hurried to the Mahavira Hall to report to Tathagata Buddha. The Tathagata was very happy after hearing this, and asked the 8 bodhisattvas, the 4 Vairas, the 500 arhats, the 3,000 jitas, the 11 dayas, and the 18 jailins to line up into rows. Then he issued a golden edict and summoned Tang Monk and his disciples to enter the hall. The monks and disciples of the Tang dynasty came to the Mahavira Hall. When they saw the Tathagata, they fell down and worshipped. They handed over the customs document and said, "According to the decree of the emperor of the Tang dynasty, I came to pray for the true scriptures to benefit all living beings. I hope that my Buddha will be merciful and give the true scriptures early. Good to return home." The Tathagata Buddha then told the story of the sutra. The Tathagata asked the 2 venerables Anuo and Kei to take Tang Monk and his disciples to fast. After fasting, they went to the Zhenlu pavilion to receive the scriptures. After Anuo and Kei led Tang Monk to read the sutra names, they asked Tang Monk if he had anything for them. Tang Monk said that he came too far and didn't bring anything with him. Anuo and Jai smiled and said, "Okay, I'll give you the sutra for free. It's too cheap for you." When Wukong saw that they refused to teach the scriptures, he shouted, "Master, let's go to Tathagata Buddha to sue them." Anuo and Jai hurriedly said, "Don't scream, come over here to get the scriptures." Bajie and Sha Seng persuaded the senior brother to stop, turned around and took the scriptures, put them one by one in the bag, carried them on the horse, and the rest, it was wrapped into a baggage and carried by Bajie and Sha Seng. Tang Monk and his disciples knelt down to thank Tathagata, bid farewell to the gods, and went down the mountain on their way. As I was walking, I suddenly smelled a burst of fragrance, and heard a loud noise. A big hand stretched out in midair and lifted all the scriptures away. Tang Monk was so frightened that he screamed repeatedly. Wukong took out his golden cudgel, jumped on the cloud and chased after him. It turns out that the ancient Buddha of Lantern in the treasure pavilion heard Anuo and K preaching scriptures and knew that what they passed on to Monk Tang was a scripture without words, so he asked Venerable Baixiong to deliberately snatch the scriptures so that Monk Tang could come back to get the scriptures with words. Seeing Wukong chasing after him, Venerable Baixiong tore the sutra bag into pieces, threw it down, and then went back to report to the ancient Buddha. The 4 masters and disciples of Tang Monk hurriedly packed up the scattered scriptures. When they opened them, they found that the scrolls were all white paper. Wukong thought that this must be because Anuo and Jai didn't ask for anything and deliberately passed it to an empty book without words. Decided to complain to Tathagata Buddha. So, the 4 masters and disciples returned to Leiyin Temple. After listening to Wukong's speech, Tathagata Buddha smiled and said, I have known this for a long time, because the sutra cannot be passed on casually, nor can it be taken casually. It turns out that when a bhikkhu teaches sutras to others, he needs 3 measures of gold and 3 liters of gold. I thought he wanted too much. It's missing. This is a wordless scripture, but you people in the East can't understand it. Anuo and Jai followed the Tathagata's golden decree to pass on the scripted scripture. They came to the sutra pavilion and still wanted something. Tang Monk had no choice but to take out the purple gold alms bowl and give it to them. Nuo took it and smiled slightly. Gay went into the pavilion to get the scriptures. Tang Monk shouted, Disciples, take a good look. Don't be like last time. The Tathagata invited the Buddhas and holy monks in Lingshan to hold a sutra preaching meeting. After the sutra preaching meeting was over, he sent away Tang Monk and his disciples. Guanyin Bodhisattva said to the Tathagata, it will take 14 years, a total of 5,040 days, to successfully obtain the sutras. Now it is still. There are 8 days. The Tathagata hurriedly ordered the 4 Vaira to send the holy monk back to his country in the clouds, and then send the Bible back within 8 days. The 4 great kings just caught up with Tang Monk and shouted, Those who seek scriptures, follow me. Tang Monk and others, together with their white horses, immediately floated on the clouds. One day and one night later, Jidi caught up and whispered something into King Kong's ear. After King Kong heard this, he held down the wind, causing Tang Monk and the 4 of them to fall to the ground together with their horses. It turns out that when Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva looked at the suffering book of Tang Monk on his way to seek scriptures, he found that Buddhism was 99 true, and Tang Monk had only suffered 80 tribulations, 1 less, so he ordered Jay to chase King Kong and let Tang Monk encounter another difficulty. After Tang Seng and others landed, they found that they had reached the west bank of the Tangshan River. They could not find a boat or a bridge and had no way to cross the river. Suddenly I heard someone shouting, Tang Shengseng, come here. The masters and disciples looked up and saw a big white turtle leaning its head on the shore and shouting, Master, you just came back. I have been waiting for you for several years. Tang Seng and others just like going to the west. We all climbed onto the turtle's back and headed straight for the east coast. The old turtle walked on all 4s in the water, just like walking on flat ground. When he was approaching the east coast, it was getting a little dark. The old turtle asked Tang Seng, that year, I asked you to ask Tathagata Buddha when I will be able to cultivate human body. Have you asked? Tang Seng, I was concentrating on studying the scriptures and forgot to ask, so I lowered my head and did not dare to answer. The old turtle got angry, shook his body, and sank into the water. Tang Seng and his disciples all fell into the water. Fortunately, it was not far from the shore. Tang Monk had emerged from his mortal body and had not sunk. The white horse was a dragon. Bajie and Sha Monk had good water qualities, and Wukong had great magical powers. They helped Master board the east bank. Suddenly, there was another strong wind, thunder and lightning, and sand and gravel flying everywhere. Tang Monk and his disciples hurriedly held down the sutra bags, while Wukong held a stick to guard them. The 4 masters and apprentices worked hard all night, and it was only at dawn that the wind stopped and the thunder stopped. After the sun came out, they hurriedly opened the scripture bags to dry the scripture scrolls. A fisherman discovered them and hurriedly called Chen Cheng and others from Chenjiazuing. Back then, Wukong and Bajie saved the children of the Chen family. Chen Cheng did not forget his kindness and invited Tang Monk and his disciples to come to the village to rest. Unable to reject the warm hospitality, Tang Monk and his disciples packed up their scriptures and followed Chen Cheng to Chenjiazuing. All the men, women, and children in the village came to greet him at the entrance of the village. After dinner at the Chen family, Tang Seng was about to leave. The Chen family, brothers and everyone in the village refused to let him leave. Tang Seng and his disciples spent the night in the village. That night, Tang Monk guarded the scriptures and did not dare to leave even one step. In the middle of the night, he called his disciples up, led the horses, carried the burden, and asked Wukong to try to open the gate of the village and walk eastward along the path. At this time, King Kong's cry sounded again in the air. "Those who escaped, follow me." Immediately, Tang Seng and his disciples rose into the air with their horses and scriptures. Before King Kong sent his master and disciple to Chang'an, the capital of the Tang dynasty, in less than a day. The four Vyras said, "Holy monk, in order not to appear in person, we will not go down. The three of them, the great sage, will not have to go down. You can come back after preaching the sutra yourself, and come back with us to Lingshan to pay the decree." Wukong said, "Although your words are reasonable, my master cannot carry the burden alone, nor can he lead the horse. We must send him off." King Kong said, "Guanyin Bodhisattva stipulates 8 days to return. There are still more than 4 days. You should go and return quickly without delay." After saying that, he put the 4 monks on the ground. Since Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty sent Tang Monk away in the 13th year of Zhongguan, he had people build a sutra reading tower outside the city gate of Chang'an, and he came here every year. On this day, Taizong just left the palace and came to the Wangjing Tower. Suddenly, he saw the auspicious air in the west, and the fragrance coming from the west. He saw Tang Monk and his disciples coming from a distance, and he hurriedly led the civil and military officials downstairs to greet him. When Tang Seng saw Taizong, he quickly bowed down. Taizong picked up Tang Seng and asked, "Who are those 3 people?" Tang Seng said that they were the disciples he had picked up on the way. Taizong was very happy and hurriedly asked them to go back to the palace together. Everyone in the city knew that the pilgrims had returned, and they came out to greet him. The monks in Hongfu Temple, where Tang Monk used to live, were even more happy. After Tang Monk entered the court, he asked Wukong, Bajie, and Sha Monk to carry the burden, took out the scriptures, and passed them to Taizong through the officials. When Taizong asked about the process of obtaining the scriptures, Tang Monk told him one by one. After traveling 108,000 miles, going through 14 winters and summers, and passing through many kingdoms, Tang Monk asked Wukong to take out the customs clearance document and present it to Taizong. In the morning of the next day, Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty told the ministers that Tang Monk had great merits. He stayed up all night and thought of a preface to give to him. Tang Seng said, "To thank you for your merits, I have thought of a preface, but I don't know if it is good or not." Tang Seng kowtowed and thanked you. Taizong also asked Monk Tang to recite the true scriptures. Tang Monk said that if he wanted to recite the true scriptures, he must find a Buddhist site. Taizong ordered officials to carry several volumes of scriptures each and send them to the holy Yanda Temple. Taizong personally went to Yanda Temple to listen to Tang Monk's chanting sutras. Tang Monk climbed up to the high platform and was about to recite the sutra when the 4 great Vyras appeared in the air and shouted, "Those who chant the sutra, come back with me." When Tang Seng heard the shouting, he was hesitating. Wukong, Bajie, Sha Seng, and the white horse had already been swept into the air by the fragrant wind. Tang Monk had no choice but to put down his scroll and soar into the sky. Taizong and all the civil and military officials panicked and quickly knelt down and worshipped in the sky. The 4 great Vyras rode the fragrant wind and returned to Lingshan with Tang Monk and his disciples and the white horse. They went to bring them back for exactly 8 days. At this time, all the gods in Lingshan came to listen to the Tathagata Buddha's sermons. The 4 great Vyras led Tang Monk and his disciples into the hall, paid homage to the Tathagata, and paid the golden edict. The Tathagata called Tang Monk and his disciples to come to their seats and conferred them on them. Monk Tang was granted the title of Sandalwood Merit Buddha, Sun Wukong was granted the title of Victory Buddha, Zhu Bajie was granted the title of Envoy of the Pure Altar, Monk Sha was granted the title of Golden Arhat, and White Horse was granted the title of 8 Heavenly Dragons, each of whom returned to the Buddha's position and transcended the mortal world. After being ennobled, Tang Seng, his master and his disciples were all happy and kowtowed to express their gratitude. The Tathagata also ordered Jie to take the White Horse to the Dragon Transformation Pond on the cliff behind Lingshan Mountain. Yi Di pushed the horse into the pool. Immediately, the White Horse turned into a golden dragon and flew out, coiling around the pillars of the King Tian who will watch in the mountain gate. Wukong asked Master to take off the golden hoop on his head. Tang Monk said, "You have become a Buddha, so you can go." Wukong raised his hand and touched his head, and sure enough, it was gone. From then on, the Shantan Buddha, the victorious Buddha, the purifying altar envoy, the golden arhat, the heavenly dragon horse, and all the Buddhas, bodhisattvas, holy monks, arhats, Jai, Bhikkhus, Upasikas, and the gods in each cave, the great god Dingjia, Gongkao, Jialan, D2, and all the masters and immortals who have achieved enlightenment have returned to their respective places. Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.